Today I want to talk about and dive into why the NBA GOAT debate is flawed all the way around, and especially how much people value or put value on rings in the NBA. So when you hear greatest of all time, who do you think of? Jordan will obviously come up. What about Kareem or Bill Russell, Kobe, Magic, of course LeBron, or John Havlicek? Or the dark horse, Robert Horry? All right. I know you're probably saying, why the heck are the last two in that conversation? Because I mean, not to hate on Havlicek, but he wasn't on the same level as MJ or Kareem because he played with Bill Russell, and Russell was the best player on that team. So therefore, it'd be hard to say that he's better than MJ or Kareem. But why did I even have Robert Horry in the discussion? I mean, that is possibly the most random person that could have been in the GOAT discussion ever. You can't possibly think that Robert Horry is greater than MJ. I mean, you'd be a complete idiot if you actually truly believe that, and your NBA fan card should be revoked. So would you believe me if I told you that Robert Horry has one more ring than MJ and Kareem, or that Havlicek has two more? This is why the ring debate is extremely flawed, which throws a major wrench into the NBA GOAT debate to begin with. The debate for the last decade or so has been who is better between MJ or LeBron, or Kobe if you're a Kobe fan. And I can't tell you how many people I've seen on the internet, whether it's pundits or analysts, former players, sports fans, keyboard warriors, say that MJ is better than LeBron because he has 6 rings. Usually the conversation goes something like, how many rings does LeBron have? Jordan has 6. End of story. End of discussion. You can't argue. 6 is more than what LeBron has. As you can see from my previous examples, though, that statement is actually pretty asinine, because if Jordan is greater than LeBron because Jordan has 6 rings, then Robert Horry is greater than Jordan because he has 7. End of discussion. 7 is greater than 6. That is a fact. Therefore, Robert Horry is greater than Jordan. That is a fact, right? All right, so this begs the question. What are the real criteria for GOAT status? And what are your criteria for GOAT status? Is it rings? Is MJ the best because of 6 rings? So this is why I'm bringing all of this up. It's actually ridiculous to compare rings and call that good. Now, I'm not saying LeBron is greater than MJ or MJ is greater than LeBron. That's up to you to decide from your personal criteria that you've created. And it's a really difficult thing in my mind to keep comparing these different players in these different eras, because everything is just so different and everything has changed over time. I mean, we're talking 60s basketball when there were 9 to 14 teams in the NBA. So the chance of winning a championship with a pretty stacked Celtics team were pretty high because there just wasn't enough competition. The game hadn't really solidified itself yet, and the NBA was pretty new at that time. So then we go into the 80s where we had Kareem and Magic versus Bird and McHale, and they reinvented this flashy Showtime Lakers style of basketball when they were going all out in that Lakers versus Celtics rivalry. And then we moved to the 90s with this very physical, grinded out type of basketball with these gritty players alongside MJ and Hakeem. And then we move into the early 2000s with Shaq and Kobe playing the triangle offense with Phil Jackson. And then we go into 2010 to 2019 presently, where in my opinion, basketball has devolved because you can't hand check, you can't touch the guys anymore. I mean, we had Russ the other night literally batting away Lance Stevenson's hand from his back because he was like, bro, you can't touch me. Don't touch me. Get your hand away from me. That's a foul. Which, I mean, come on, that's just... it's just so stupid that he actually did that in a game in the NBA. You also have James Harden, who can do a 4-step step back, not get it called, and people start emulating that, and none of them are getting calls. And then people call this, oh, but there's a gather step, blah, blah, blah. Whatever. A travel is a travel is a travel is a travel. Let's call it as it is and stop making excuses for how stupid the NBA has become. So how exactly do we compare these players in all of these different eras when they're facing completely different rules mixed with these different styles of play? And then all of these guys are playing different positions, right? We have MJ versus LeBron, so it's shooting guard versus small forward, power forward, playing 10 years apart, which to me is why, from what I've seen, why people fall back on the ring debate of like, oh, LeBron is a power forward and MJ's a shooting guard, or Kobe's a shooting guard, Magic's a point guard, so we can't compare these guys. So what we're going to do is fall back and say that MJ is better because he has 6 rings, because otherwise it just becomes this blurred mess of how to compare these two. So I know you might be thinking, I'm talking in circles. What's the point of all of this? Why did I even bother making this video if all I'm going to do is criticize this debate and call it dumb? My point is that the logic behind this debate in the NBA that has been raging on ever since LeBron has entered the NBA is just flawed. And people don't see this. And rabid fans keep falling back on this ring thing. And it drives me nuts to see that as a collective whole of NBA fans, this has become the standard debate, right? We don't have this concrete criteria behind why we think one player is better than another. So I have my personal criteria, which consists of skill from what I've seen, influence on the game as far as changing the style of basketball or creating moves or different ways to play. You know, you got to think of MJ's shot, Steph Curry basically reinventing the three-point line at this point. And then on top of that, influence outside of basketball, meaning do people try to emulate you? Do you have this brand that surpasses basketball? Have people looked up to you throughout the years when they're kids? You know, do they talk about how you inspired them? We talk about being like Mike. And that's part of why he's so great, is because he just had this influence on basketball that was greater than basketball itself. He created this global brand of Jordan and created this generation of players who are in the NBA that looked up to him and played basketball because of him. And so I personally don't think that this GOAT debate should stay and be based around championships, but it's rather a multifaceted, subjective approach of what you think and what you've seen and your criteria of who is better than who because of how you think that basketball should be played, or how you think the greatest player of all time should play basketball, or the influence that they've had on basketball as a sport. So with all of that being said, I hope to inspire discussion amongst fans, and real discussion based on your criteria that you've come up with, rather than being a sheep to this ring comparison that we just hear all the time that has flooded this debate. So who do you think is the GOAT? Or is there even a GOAT? Let me know what you guys think and how you judge each player. So thanks for watching, guys. I hope you appreciate this small breakdown, and hopefully I've pointed out enough things to show you that this debate is just so subjective. That being said, stay tuned for another breakdown video next week, and thanks for watching, guys.